You have just stepped into the Midlife Revolution, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacey M. Lewis. And we're two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we're here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating career shifts, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution. Hey, good morning, friends. Good morning, Stacey. How are you?
Good morning, Wayne. I'm great. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks. And I'm going to get it right today because I've been messing up with the date. Today is May 7th, right?
That is true. That is true. You know, but hey, if you're catching the replay, does it really matter? No, not really. But yes, today is May 7th, Wayne. Well done.
Well, welcome to another episode of Midlife Revolution. I am Coach Wayne, and together myself and my co-host Coach Stacey M. Lewis, we help folk of color get through what's called midlife crisis so that the second half of their lives can be the best half of their lives. And Stacey?
So I'm always excited to be here. So I am Stacey M. Lewis, as it says in the little purple box. I'm a nonprofit executive. So of course, if you're looking for a great organization to support, check out youngsurvival.org. And I have the honor of being a coach for midlife women. The reality is that, you know, there are so many struggles, yet so much resilience that we have to connect with. And so I'm always excited to be here to share with my co-host and to, engage with our fantastic listenership. They have just really been supportive. And so we want to shout them out. So let's get it, Wayne.
Stacey, what time is it?
Well, it's mental health time.
It is mental health
awareness. Is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're excited to really drop some nuggets and remind folks of the value of their mental health and how to take care of it a little bit.
The Center for Disease Control, CDC, they have a specific guideline in terms of what is mental health, because oftentimes when people, you know, the lay person thinks of mental health, we think of someone who is crazy, or we think of someone who has major psychological depression and issues. But mental health really, according to the CDC, is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope during normal stresses in life, which we all deal with, and can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. And that is really what mental health is all about. And so I guess we're all candidates.
No, mental health is critical just to our day-to-day existence and how we handle stressors. And one of the things that I love about what you said, I recall a colleague, a social worker colleague presenting, and he said, is your being well? So as you show up in your day-to-day for yourself, for others around you, is who you are, is your being well? Are you present? And is that well? And so I think there are some great tips to share with our audience today. And good morning, Sister Audrey. She must have known that I called her out last time. I was looking for her wisdom, her doctoral wisdom, but they saved me. I missed you last week.
Welcome. Folks who are joining us on other platforms, welcome. We're on LinkedIn Live this morning, Facebook, and Stacy, you have folk on your YouTube channel, right?
On Facebook. We're live on Facebook today, both Facebook channels. So
easy breezy. So
share your
mental,
comments.
yeah, mental health is further categorized into, you talked about being well, 3 states of being well or well-being. One is emotional, right? And one is psychological, and another is social well-being, psychological well-being, and emotional well-being. Those are the areas that constitutes our mental well-being.
Absolutely. And we need to nurture them, cultivate them, care for our well-being, our being well, on a daily basis. So while May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we want to make sure that we, in this season, right, when maintaining our faculties, it's critical to our success. We want to make sure that we're nurturing our mental health. And when we were talking before the show, I shared that, when I think about my own mental health, I add my financial well-being, because when my money ain't right, sister's feeling a little stressed, and my spiritual well-being. And so whether you believe as I do or not, just that connection to a higher power, that knowing that, I'm caring for my soul, for me is important. So I'm adding to your top 3. So now we have a top 5. Where would you
I
like?
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Duress is a natural occurrence for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We go through the stresses of life, and so the stresses are the stresses, meaning for some folk, the way that they respond to it is not one that causes alarm and is considered duress. Some people deal with stress, the same level of stress, and it's eustress for them, which is it's elation, and it makes them feel charged. Like, I know when it comes to public speaking, for example, Stacy, there are people who literally are on the verge of collapsing. They fear it more so than death, they say. And then there are others that just get ecstatic, and they want to run circles because they get hyped up for that. So how we deal with it is part of the issue. Now, for the folk that we deal with, the seasoned folks, 40 and up, or that's the age limit in terms of paper, but how you feel is how old you are. So as we enter midlife, a lot of times we start allowing the stresses of life to bear on us and wear on us. And today we want to address some go-tos that can help our midlifers to manage it better.
Yeah, let's start with emotional health. How about that?
Okay.
Because I think as we are really looking to add value, to share with folks some really practical, actionable strategies to revving up, right, this season of their life. When thinking about emotional well-being, I think one really important strategy is to remember the gift of your breath, of taking a breath. And when you are feeling that emotional overwhelm, or that emotional pull to get kind of sucked into the vortex of your emotions, to begin to take some really healthy, deep breaths, to just start to kind of pull those emotions into a place of a little bit more control.
To piggyback on that, Stacey, I like the idea of taking time, quiet time for self, solitude, where we can do the breathing that you spoke about, but the reflection and the being intentional, meditating, Meditation really helps to calm us and it works across the board through many of the areas that we talked about that are identified as well-being. And for sure, emotions are one of them. We can manage that through our solitude.
Well said. Nothing like a little solitude to kind of separate, right, ourselves from maybe what's causing some of that angst or reaction, and begin to really get control over our being well.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, it's also important to spend time with others socially, right?
Mm,
When older folk get through work and they get into retirement, the studies show that if they have connectivity, they're continuing to do social stuff, or even if you give them a cat, a dog, it helps. But just to be able to connect, because we're social creatures, and have an outlet, someone to talk to, somebody to see us, reflect with us. And again, for a lot of folks, their pets are part of the family. So we suggest that to manage some of the mental health issues that folks may be challenged with, that we also find time to socialize.
I couldn't agree with you more. I had to reach over for my phone because you spoke about pets. I'm just saying, I don't even know if it's going to work, but my darling little Bernardo. Let's see if that works. Oh, see,
Yeah, we see Bernardo. Yep,
you
yep.
you are so right. I believe that that we were built for community. And while whether you are introvert, extrovert, or some vert in between, the reality is we need each other. And finding that space where you can begin to be yourself in a way that allows you to be vulnerable, and in a way that allows you to share safely, so that you can really build connection and community. And I'm sorry, Wayne.
You see what you started, Stacy? Look
You
down there.
started it. You said pets, and how pets can be very cathartic and helpful, and they really are just the best thing in the whole wide world. I'm sorry, I'm just saying. Okay,
Stacy,
back to the focus. Sorry. Social
those
well-being. So we really need each other, and so and need that companionship, and the beauty of a pet is that there's clearly no judgment there. So finding that safe space where you can really begin to blossom your social well-being is really important to your mental health.
but it's also curating the people that you're around,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you have positive people, right? Folk who are cheering you on, people, you have some folk, they get up in the morning, life fell on them, right? We have folk who spend 24/7 watching the news, and they become the news, right?
Right.
Bad
Right.
news, the bad news. And you don't want to have that. So we are recommending for your mental health that you spend time with positive people, with positive, hopeful energy. You have some people, when they come in a room, all of a sudden there's an eclipse, the sun just gets covered. Yeah, you don't want to spend time with those folks.
There's an eclipse. I haven't quite heard it that way. I will say that Audrey and Delane are just in the chat cutting up about my dog. I didn't mean to start a revolt. Yet you're right. It is using a little bit of your emotions and your own ability, your discernment to say, like, okay, those are not the people I want to socialize with. Like you said, if there's an eclipse, And at the same time, it is identifying those where you feel a little bit of a draw, where you feel like there's some like-mindedness or there's some connectedness that you want to explore, certainly carefully. But we really, really do need each other, Wayne.
Okay. Is Delane saying she wants a dog?
Delane, no, she's laughing that Audrey wants a dog.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you for laughing, Delane.
Sorry.
We need that. So, we are talking now about social gatherings and meeting people, but let's add to that. One of the things that we know helps in terms of well-being mentally is getting involved in community. So there is a sense of contribution and a sense of worth. And we could do this through volunteering. Doesn't have to be paid gigs, but to get up and go to the library and give out books to the kids or read for the kids or a food pantry, just to keep ourselves active and involved and give ourselves that sense of worth.
I love it. It definitely boosts the emotional well-being, the psychosocial well-being, the psychological well-being. Like you said, just doing, getting your mind off of yourself sometime and helping in a way that really blesses other people. Definitely helps move us forward.
Yeah. And let's look at work, Stacy. We spend a majority of our life working.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of folk, a report recently came out, a survey that said up to like 80% of folk who were researched, surveyed, claim that they are not happy with the job that they do day to day. Can you imagine that? Spending the majority of your life just not being happy about showing up, having, the majority
Yeah,
of,
I mean,
yeah.
I think what's really interesting, Wayne, is I've on my 9 to 9, on my job, I do some of the HR, and in reading some recent articles, it's really emphasizing the number of employees that feel disengaged, that don't feel whether it be emotionally connected, socially supported, don't feel engaged in their day to day, and how that must impact the emotional and the social well being of people is certainly notable.
Yeah.
Wayne, let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
So, for the men that you, I know that you focus on primarily men. What do you feel of thinking about emotional well-being, psychological well-being, or social well-being? What are some of the real kind of experiences that men are bringing? Which area do you think is maybe the real pain point or the real sticking point for men in particular in this season of midlife?
So there's a sense of worthlessness of, and I think that has a lot to do with men of color having had a narrative for a long time that their their contribution is not as valued in the society that we live in, and they have had trauma. A lot of trauma has been stored in the lives of these men, and this trauma has been inherited based on the constitution of the country that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And so these men are oftentimes not represented in high numbers, say in corporate America, especially as you start elevating to the C levels. And a lot of the brothers I deal with are at that space where they want more. And so they have spent the early part of their lives, Stacy, living the dream, going to school, getting the jobs that they were supposed to get, and arduously laboring according to the rules and the laws, but the payoff oftentimes isn't the same. So now there's this disillusion at 40. They're beginning to wonder, am I going to be able to retire comfortably or work until I'm 95? what's going to happen. And so there's this sense of, it's usually fear. So fear is one of those emotions too, in terms of the feeling of, I am not good enough. I am fearful that I can't provide for my family and myself. I'm fearful. So that's real.
Yeah, that was powerful. And for those of you that know, Wayne and I are live. And of course, with it being spring and May, someone was outside the window with the blower. So I wanted to just make sure that that didn't interrupt the nuggets that Wayne was sharing. I just feel it is, the whole mental health piece is so critical to our communities. And I feel that as we move forward, as we age, as we sage, we often forget about our own mental health. And so I'm really glad that you and I are having this conversation, that our hope is that, knowing that this is a conversation that we can have, right? Whether it be with your therapist, with your coach, to really have these conversations about what is happening in your mental health, socially, emotionally, psychologically, financially, spiritually. Those conversations are critical and just can't be had enough.
So let me drop a coaching nugget for the folk that are listening. And this
Mhm.
is based on results that I get with the men that I work with. I help men, and I'm suggesting, identify where your strengths are.
Mm.
You must know what your strengths are. And there are various tools around to do strength testing and figure those out. Once you identify what your strengths are, you begin to craft your job, your vocation, your career around these strengths. Why? Because when you are in this zone, we call it the zone of genius, where your strengths are, where you're utilizing your strengths. When you live in that zone, some folks call it your flow.
Mm-hmm.
Your health
Mm.
shines, your productivity rises, your sense of well-being improves. And it's almost as if you look forward to get into the next thing because now you are in flow. So it's important to do that. A lot of times people go for interviews and they try so hard to win the job.
Mm.
Sometimes being told no for a job that's not a good fit is the best gift for you. You'll live a longer life, a healthier life, and a better life. So I just wanted to drop that nugget.
Yeah, it's so good to know your strengths, to be able to draw from your strengths. You are who you are, and I think we spend a lot of time, in particular, in my experience as a woman, and many of the women that I serve, we spend a lot of time emotionally comparing ourselves to others in ways that are not healthy. And so to be able to really know and connect with your strengths is certainly something that I encourage women to do as well, whether it be, any of the assessments out there that really are designed to just draw on your innate strengths to demonstrate what they are, and not only how you can use those strengths, but what the blind spots can be of those strengths. Um, and knowing those blind spots, I feel like helps us emotionally and socially as we move forward. So I love the idea of reminding people to know their strengths.
Yeah. And of course, Stacy, it sounds a little bit absurd to some. Brain train. How do you train your brain? There once was this notion that your brain doesn't grow over time once you have passed childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But they have since discovered that you can actually prune neurons, which are the nerve
Mm.
cells in the brain, by not using them. If you don't use them, you lose them. Or you can train them and allow them new ones to grow, neural pathways, by using your brain in different ways than you always did. For example, when you're getting older, challenge your brain, learn, take up a course, crossword puzzles. These things help to allow your brain to grow. So brain train is important, and that helps in terms of your mental health.
Yeah, I think about how many colleagues and friends you probably have that are avid readers, right? They are constantly looking uh, to learn, and that growth edge, that desire to just continue to expand, right? I agree with you that while we have been, and I know a lot of science says that the most brain development is in those early childhood years. It doesn't mean that your brain stops developing when you hit your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. I was celebrating in one of my communities on a call last night, and we were celebrating one of the sisters' moms who, at 70, was going back to get her high school diploma. Just because of life circumstances, she didn't finish high school, but to be able to take the year 70 and really say, these are some of the regrets that I don't want to live with. And so this is how I'm going to pursue. It's never, ever too late. And I think that that is one of the beautiful things about this season, where we can encourage people to focus on their mental health, to focus on their emotional, psychological, social well-being, to get your dollars and cents together. Doesn't mean you have to have a lot of money, but your financial well-being really does, I believe, impact how you feel about moving forward in the world, and really growing your spiritual well-being in whatever way works for you, so that you are really flourishing mind, body, and soul.
And just to piggyback on that, before we throw in the last one that we have time for, when you talked about spiritual well-being, it's really having that sense of a compelling future, having hope, having faith for something in the future that delivers for you. When
Mm.
people believe that their future is bright, their mental health status improves. And Stacy, here's the last one, and I'll give you the last word. Sleep, 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 sleep. Something that oftentimes I tend to miss. Sleep, Stacy. We got to get enough sleep. What do you say about that before we go, Stacy?
That means that publicly you are putting yourself in a position for accountability. And I should never, ever receive a 3 a.m. email about our next episode of the Midlife Revolution. Yes, sleep is critical. It is critical to our physical health. It is critical to our emotional well-being. And while we'll have to spend, I think, an episode talking about hormones, the impact of hormones in midlife, and that impact on our sleep. It is that they are really linked. Sleep is so important to our mental, emotional health. When you are exhausted, it is usually when someone can push that button and say one word, and you're then just an emotional wreck. So yes, Wayne, I agree. Sleep is
Absolutely.
important, and it is something that folks should be talking to their coaches about, their therapist about, in ways that really help them live life more fully, helps their being be well.
Stacy, we're at the end. And, folks know how to find us. If you stay on to the very end, you'll see us showing how you can contact Coach Wayne and Coach Stacy. That's us in terms of getting your second half to become your best half. Stacy, I'm about to take a nap right now. So let's get out of here. See ya next week. And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution. Hey, we truly appreciate you spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
Don't forget, if today's episode resonated with you, share your thoughts and suggest topics in the comments. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, and hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.